Hi, this is Tim Mueller, Business Intelligence student with Full Sail University. This is a presentation about the strategy and tactics of completing the Texas 70.3 Ironman half in 2018. So the athlete is my good friend, Marcus Miller. You can see the arrow pointing to him in that photograph. He's a 36-year-old male, former Army Ranger. He has a high level of fitness, which is fantastic. This is his first race, however, but he does have experience in all three events of the Ironman. The race we're shooting for is the Memorial Herman Ironman 70.3 in Galveston, Texas. And you can see from these photographs, it's nice, flat, beachy terrain. It looks gorgeous and is held during a nice time of year. Right early spring race. The race this year was early April, April 2nd, I believe. So it's less heat, but it is windy. It consists of a 1.2-mile swim, a 56-mile bike ride, and a 13.1-mile run. The goal is to complete the race, of course, but we are narrowing ourselves into, because we know we're not going to win a race, but finishing in the top 25% of his division, and that's at or under a total time of 5 hours and 15 minutes. So from start to finish, we're going to have a 38-minute swim, a 2-hour and 36-minute bike ride, and an hour and 54-minute run. Variables to consider: weather, equipment, previous experience, pacing, and transition times. These are our top 5, and I'm going to go into each individually. So weather, mid 70s to low 80s. The past 5 years data shows that. Humidity is higher. We're on the coast. We deal with coastal breezes, but the weather is fairly predictable, and the chances of precipitation are 20%. So while it is a variable we need to be watching, it's not a large one. This is a bigger one. Equipment. We want to have reliable equipment versus just expensive equipment. It needs to be easy to use so we can transition from swimming to biking to running very quickly. GPS watch is absolutely critical for not only GPS and global positioning, but also pacing and times. We need a strong bike fit, so it's got to be properly sized and geared, and aero helmet for aerodynamics. Previous experience, we don't have a whole heck of a lot, so we know we're dealing with racers who do. So they do have that advantage on us. The race is early in the season though, so you're going to have people who are fresh, who are newer, who are doing exactly what we're doing. And then Marcus has experience running half marathons, which is kind of an added plus. Pacing and timing. Respect the Distance was said by Match Murphy, a 2004 Ironman winner, and pacing yourself is so important. It's controllable. We can measure it, and the data shows that winners, they don't place first in all three events. That's not how this works. So efficiency is the key for each person. It's going to vary for each person. Transition times. So we need to keep our tee times down to under 2 minutes. We have to practice the tactics of that. You don't want to just throw your bike down and start running. There's ways to do things. Have a good location. We got to be practicing beforehand. You can see this photo to the right is someone setting up their tee time location to make sure it's functional. The data we used was collected from this race for males in our division from 2013 to 2017. Swimming took up about 14% of their total time. Biking was half of the race, and then running was 36% of the time. And the charts to the right show that the total time versus each individual event, and how they don't really fluctuate within that 25th percentile. But the far right of the top graph, you can see the winners of the the division and the differences between the times, which is pretty interesting. The final time needed, we're looking for a 5-hour and 15-minute race. Right now, even though he hasn't done a race, Marcus hasn't actually run a half Ironman. He's averaging 5 hours and 47 minutes. If you were to look at just how he's done each event, we call them the 7 attempts. He's done all 3 events 7 times, so it's given us a baseline. We need to gain 4% efficiency from his average to our goal, but right now his best time is getting close. It's 5 hours and 28 minutes. Using Bayesian statistics, we figure there's about a 7% chance he will hit that goal right now of 5 hours and 15 minutes. You can see the formula below, but prior ability is only about 8%, but the day of the race, we figured 40% after training, and then of it not happening about 50%. So the equation's right there, but 7%, it's low, but it's a baseline. It's where we're starting. Our strategy for success, we started with the SWOT analysis, which you can see there to the right, and we're setting up a training regimen that's very measurable and we can collect a lot of data, and we're working to educate with exposure to experts, and we've set our baseline attempts, the 7 attempts I was talking about earlier. That's our baseline data. Patterns in the data. So this is pretty important. Something always suffers, and that's important for us to remember as we're going through this, that a strong swim could mean a slow bike, and a fast bike can mean a slow run. So balance is key, and every race is different. That's what these two graphs here show. So there's the averages from the 25th percentile from 2013 to 2017. You can see how they fluctuate from 5 hours and 2 minutes to 5 hours and 23 minutes total. And then below that, those are the 7 racers from this past April's race. And using a heat map, you can see green is good, or green is fast, red is slow, how they placed within that event compared to the total time. So you can see the total, you don't have green all the way across the board. That's just not possible. So for the swim, the goal is 38 minutes. Right now, he's averaging 46 minutes after his 7 attempts, but his best time is 37 minutes. Marcus is a strong swimmer. So our probability of hitting that goal is 39%. It's great. We're going to do a lot of 1-hour swims in the pool just for pacing and form with a coach. And then we're going to do some more outdoor work and then choppy water practice where we're going to try to simulate that picture next to the words here of how choppy the water is. It's not like just swimming in a lane in a pool, but it's really not a big concern. The bike ride, the goal is 2 hours and 36 minutes. Right now, based on his 7 attempts, he's at 3 hours and 16 minutes, but his best time is 2 hours and 57 minutes. This is the big area of concern. Biking is not his strong point, so Marcus has a lot of work here. The probability using Bayesian statistics is about 11%. We're only giving him the day of the race the 30% probability that he's actually going to hit that goal. So 11% overall, it's a good place to start. We know we need to focus there. The strategy, this is, like I said before, the main focus of training. We have an incremental approach to build his confidence on the bike, and we're getting riding coaches involved, and we're working him in a fatigued state so he's used to riding the bike already tired as if he had just swam. And then we're going to get him in some small races around town and get him up to 21 miles an hour, which he'll need to be at to get that goal. For the run, the goal is 1 hour and 54 minutes. Right now, he's at 2 hours and 1 minute, but his best time was 1 hour and 52. We're giving him a probability of 56% of hitting that. He's a strong runner. This is like the swimming. We're not overly concerned with it. But the strategy for it is just not running on road course. We want to kind of get a little bit more aggressive with the running because it is his strong suit, and we want to exploit his strengths. So we're going to do some incremental runs with pace differences and get his body used to running a little bit quicker. We want to keep him at about a 9 to 10 minute mile. Something that's important to note about all of our times is that they're really aggressive. So if we do have strong runners, when we get to race day, we're already prepared for that. Some more probabilities to look at. So just looking at if he does come first out of the water, what's the likelihood that he'll still hit his goal and the total time. So it's about 3% coming out of the water. Coming off the bike and achieving that final goal time of 5 hours and 15 minutes is only 1%. That's really low. And then achieving a running goal and then crossing the finish line at 5 hours and 15 minutes is only 4%. So what if we said, what's it going to take to achieve all three? Well, if you multiply all the probabilities together, it only comes down to 2%. So it's not a lot, but then again, this is his first race. This is Marcus getting out there and getting back in it, and it's just a baseline of where we can go. But using the probabilities, at least we can kind of gauge on where we're at now and where we need to be. And as we start gathering more information, we can update these formulas to start increasing the probabilities, which will be great. So Next slide is references. Take a look there to see where I got some information, and thanks for listening.